Welcome to New Mexico Black Rifle Operators Union. I'm your host, Sean. Sorry about that little hiccup this morning. Had some audio problems, had to reboot some stuff and get it working. Decided to go live today because I took the day off because I have some things going on today that I needed to get done. What I noticed today was that, well, and last night even, is that there is not a lot of cool stuff going on the 2A, at least on the legal front. It's kind of all being worked out. What I did find an article on from the Four Boxes Diner, which is kind of interesting to me, is that of all the restraining orders and all the stuff that's been going on in the world right now, where they're pushing this, Save Women Act and where the red flag laws come in because of restraining orders, there's this huge push from politicians to stop this supposedly huge problem. There is no real follow-through with the real problem, if this is a real problem. What I mean is, there are thousands of restraining orders, and some of them are rightly there. I mean, there are some really turd people that need to be kept away from people, and I would tell those ladies that are in those situations, or those guys, that you need to stay strapped or get clapped, because really, a restraining order is just a piece of paper. It's not going to protect you. But those people that have had their 2A rights stripped from them because of a restraining order, because of bad blood, because of, anyone who's ever been through a hard breakup knows that there's bad blood between the two people and bitterness. If they've had to fight that legal battle to get their rights back, they're likely to succeed because there's only 126 convictions nationwide that have ever, or in this last year that is, that have ever been pulled for this particular offense. But if you listen to one side of the aisle right now, this is a major problem, and this is something we have to fix right now. If you listen to media, last night I watched the Republican presidential debates for a little while. I got bored with it because I don't see any of those guys being president. The one that I do like the most is Vivek, but I don't ever see him getting too far. He speaks a little too high above the average voter, and the average voter is probably not going to resonate with that. Besides, Trump is polling double digits. That's because people are pissed off. They keep wanting to strip him of everything that he's ever done and ever been, which is going to make him even more dangerous if and when he does get elected. But I digress. To get back what I was talking to, if you listen to last night's debate, they mentioned gun violence being an epidemic, and you saw a lot of the crony rhino Republicans instantly clamor on and like, well, this is what I'll do. And then you saw some other ones actually come up and say, no, that's not the problem. The problem is mental health. And then others started chiming in and going through and doing what was right there. Now, we all know this is a mental health problem, and I preach to you guys all the time about this. But this just highlights this one issue that has been highlighted time and time again, especially in New Mexico. That's how they got the red flag law into place, was with restraining orders and talking about these violent acts. That bad blood, bitter people that are breaking up. That is a bad situation anyway. If you look at the incidents where guns from cops are drawn and bad things happen there too, it is usually because of domestic violence, especially when you involve kids, because you start pushing people's emotions up and their reasoning goes down the drain and out the window. And when you start thinking about restraining orders, one of the biggest cases in law right now, and it's in the Supreme Court, is Rahimi. And Rahimi has to do with basically he's kind of a turd guy anyway, but he has had a restraining order and he had a gun on him when he was busted. This highlights what I'm talking about, that just because you have someone who you're having a disagreement with, if you are actually a law-abiding citizen and just walk away from them and never around them and don't go near them or anything like this, that should satisfy all the qualifications of the restraining order. However, what we're seeing is that's not the case, that they go so far as, if you have a restraining order, we're going to throw a red flag on you. We're going to take away your 2A rights and make you a second-class citizen. In today's society, with as much violence that is out there because of the influx of immigrants that are illegal immigrants coming up across the border, illegals, let's just call them illegals, coming across the border, and you're seeing these flash mobs of people robbing and pillaging, and the basic societal breakdown, it doesn't make a lot of sense to someone like me in the 2A that you would be stripped of your right of basic self-defense because, as I said last night, or night before last, that you are entitled to violence just like everyone else. Just because the state has a monopoly on violence right now does not mean that you do not have the right to defend yourself against any and all that would try to oppress you and push their will upon you. And as we get forward, as we get deeper in the weeds with this, there's a potential with that Rahimi case that they finally throw this out the window, which would give us a heck of a lot more legal standing to go after the red flag laws. Because the red flag laws, having lived in New Mexico, having seen what they do in real life, I haven't had to go through it personally because I kind of stick to my own. I've not been in a relationship that's gotten really bitter in years. But I could see it because I've had those relationships where the other person has been bitter and pissed off and wanted their ounce of flesh, and they're willing to use the legal process against someone to do that. So I could see how this would be a big deal, and losing my 2A rights would be a huge deal to me. That's one of my basic freedoms that I enjoy and I like to keep because I've always been a shooter. You know, it's been part of my family. It's part of my creed. It's part of who I am to be a 2A guy. And it's not my sole thing, but it is something that is very, anyone who knows me for any extended time knows this is a big part of who I am. So to lose something that key to what I believe is part of me as part of an American in general is a big deal. And to see this, you know, this ray of sunlight that could come through and possibly erase this, you know, we could get black-pilled. If you don't know what black-pilled means, that nothing's going to change and nothing's going to get better and all that other stuff. But if we do that, we lose hope, we lose the ability to fight, and morale is key to the fight. If you don't believe you can win, eventually you begin to quit fighting. And that's where we need to be on our A game, is knowing that we can win this fight. We can win. You know. So this is another one of those rays of sunshine that are coming through for us that could very possibly lead to a win, a victory in a big way, because it helps dissolve what one side has consistently said is a giant issue, especially with someone highlighting that there's only been 126, not 126,000, not 10,000, not 12,600, no, 126 convictions throughout the country because of the 2A violations with restraining orders that have actually went through the courts and actually were convicted. So what does that tell you? That tells you exactly what I said. The gun laws have no net effect. They're nothing that actually is solving the problem, because you can't solve a mental health problem with a law. We need better diagnosis, better treatment options, more or less stigmatization around mental health issues, so that we actually can get people the help they need when they need it. Because that is where the problem is, and that would be our best bang for our buck. The other thing I think is cool is I'm seeing more and more push for suppressors. Again, I think suppressors should be legal. You should be able to buy it the same day. Instead, you have to go through the ATF's bull crap. What does the suppressor actually do that makes it so illegal? It's the movie effect that has affected law in a lot of cases. They show some of the civilian weapons because, let's be honest, nowadays civilian weapons are better than most military weapons, if not better in quality control, better in maintenance, better in almost every fashion. And most of the civilian improvements are now being trickled down to the military. It's because the market has proven that these things have worked. So the military is now asking for these. If you look at the XM7, the SIG rifle, look at all the improvements that have come from that. The rail lock systems, the 1913 rails in certain places already, the folding stock that it has, the capabilities it has out of the box are coming straight from the AR-10, AR-15 world that the free market provided. The race gun guys. But when I was getting to the suppressors, is the 8.6 is getting more and more popular. And I think this is a cool thing. I'm one of those guys that likes big bullets sometimes. I like 32 caliber bullets. But what I like about the 8.6 is they're using a 338 bullet in a 308 case, I think is what it was. This gives you that capability of like the 300 black in an AR-10 platform with a heavier bullet, which means that it's going to have more kinetic effect and be more effective for hunting. Now, a lot of people would say, why would you want to hunt with a suppressor? Well, think about that. You're not wearing hearing protection when you're hunting. You're trying to protect yourself just as much as you're trying to protect the animal, or harvest the animal. The other thing is that gives you an advantage of them only hearing the crack of the bullet when it's too late, and it wouldn't disturb the other animals in the area, meaning that you would be able to theoretically harvest your animal without disturbing someone else. And if you're in a hunting party, the other person could possibly get their animal. So as suppressors take off, this should be coming off the registry of the ATF. It's something that is a net benefit to humanity because it helps protect us, the shooter, more so than any of the movie stuff. So that's all I have for you today. Like, share, subscribe, be great.